Hello everyone, welcome back. Sorry for the long period of time of not uploading. I have been busy with college and work, you know, Christmas period, everything gets busy then. Today I'm going to be carrying on the Zombie Bite series, where I'm today doing a Cine Wax zombie bite. A thing you should know with Cine Wax is that it tends to be it gets quite sticky when it gets quite warm, so you need to be vigilant of that when you're working with people on their skin, because it do tend to get quite warm. Another thing is that if you're working on an area where there's a lot of the skin is quite squishy or soft, the wax tends to not like to stick or lift up when blending or working with it. So that's like areas like the cheeks, the forearms, anywhere really where there's a lot of fat, or areas where there is a lot of squishiness. That tend to be an area where you should probably avoid with that one. So today I'll be doing it on my forearm, as this is the most non-squishy area that I could possibly work with. But yeah, anyway, so first step is to use barrier foam. I'm using the Kryolan Pro Shield barrier foam. This is really good stuff. This will help give a nice smooth surface to your skin when applying makeup or preparing the skin for makeup. It will also give a really nice protection against staining, as if you're doing zombie bites or anything like that with a very high pigmented paint or colour scheme, the colours will tend to stain the skin. That's why barrier foam tends to protect the skin a bit more against the staining. So for today, like we're doing zombie bites, we'll be using quite a lot of browns and reds and possibly blacks, which will stain the skin, and nobody really wants to have a ghost of a zombie bite left on their skin. So you're just going to put a little bit onto a cotton pad like this, and you'll just wipe it onto the area with the cotton pad until it's all blended in, which will make the skin nice and smooth and ready, and it will also clean the skin as well, ready for makeup application. Just like that. And then today we're using the Kryolan Cine Wax. This is the best stuff I have used so far. I did get... Interesting question. Thank you for that, Siri. I have used other ones, but some of them got hot way too quickly and were just so sticky you couldn't even use them, which wasn't great, because then you'd have to work in either a really cold environment or so quickly that it probably wouldn't blend out that well or look that great on the skin. So all you want to do is create a sausage shape bit of wax and place it on your arm in the closest shape of a zombie bite as you can get, and just use a spatula and just press down on the edges of the wax to blend into the skin and to stick it down. Sometimes if it doesn't stick, you can use latex. That will help stick the base of the sausage shape down, so then you can blend it out easier without it moving away from you or creating indents in the clay and lifting it up off the skin. That is another useful way. And when you're blending out, you just want to make sure you're also dragging the excess of the clay off of the skin, as it can just all lump up and then it will just look like a semi-blended out bit of clay wax with a load of uneven, lumpy patches of built up area as well. So there we are, it is all blended out, and you can see that it is all blended out there. What you'll want to do is just do the same again, but on the other side, to create another little crescent shape there to give the other side of the bite. So once you've done that, you're going to want to create the little bite marks, which I use this again, and I just dig my tool into the skin and drag to create little curved bite marks. You can do as many as you want, or lay them out as wide apart as you would like. Just make sure they look like teeth marks. You can even have a look at pictures from movies, or if you can find them real life bite marks, they are quite useful, especially the movie ones, because they tend to be more anatomically correct, and will show you the layers of makeup that you could put in. So you just want to keep doing that all the way around. So once you've done that, it should look something like this. And then now it's time for the painting. So I'm going to use a mixture of grease and alcohol paints today, just because they give the best possible looks that you could give. And so I will be using today the CC Beauty Professional Cosmetics. These are grease paints. They have really good colours in them for zombie makeup. There's bloods, flesh tones, pinks, everything you could need in there. I got this off Amazon, and I think it was £20 with another colour set, which was like blues, yellows, pinks, other colours that you could possibly need, and a set of paintbrushes, which were very nicely, which was very handy to have with me. I'll find the makeup brushes for you now. So you got a good variety of brushes as well with it there, in lots of different sizes. Some of them are stained because I've been using them quite a lot, you know, for special effects. And you will need some setting powder. So I've got the Technic Soft Focus Translucent Loose Powder. This works wonders for me when using grease paints because it sets the paint just so well. Another thing with this Cine Wax as well, be careful of where you put it, that there isn't much movement, because the wax can come off and can come loose on areas with lots of movement. So just be wary of that as well when using it. So in industry, the proper industry practice would be to scrape your colours out. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to mix a skin tone, an irritated like reddish skin tone, just to use as a base to apply with a sponge. So I'm going to mix this pale colour here with a bit of this pink, and depending on what shade it comes with I might do a little bit of red as well. So I'll mix these. So this is the colour I made. It's a dark reddish pinky colour, and I know I said I was going to add it to the outside of my wound, but I think I might add it to the inside instead now, as it is quite a dark colour. So I'm just going to get a smallish brush. This is the number 4 brush from the joint palette with this, and I will just paint the inside of my wound. Another hack for working with grease paints is that it can be quite hard to clean the brushes, so that's why I find it better to clean them with IPA. IPA does work quite well cleaning them off, but it does dry out the bristles of your brush a lot, so you may have to condition them quite after a couple of uses. You can just do that by getting a warm pot of water or a warm mug of water and putting a bit of shampoo in it and just leaving your brushes to soak. That can help help soften up your brushes again from the previous use. So you just want to colour in the wound and layer that up. I will add darker reds and browns to this as well. This is just to get the base colour. And just to blend out this colour to the edges to make sure it all fully blends in, I'm just using a sponge and getting a light splotch of the colour and just blending that out around the skin to the edge of the bite marks, so it's not such of a harsh colour, just in the centre with no end marks to the wound. Now that I've got that done, I will go in again with some dark browns mixed with some of the reds just to create the darker shadows. So these are the two colours I've made, just mixed red in with both of the browns that I picked. And now I'm just going to go into the bite mark grooves and I'm going to blend it out. Make sure your brush doesn't have too much product on, otherwise it will look quite harsh. I will go back in as well with alcohol paints just to add a bit more depth to it. After you've added the colour on there, it should look like that. And I am now going to move on to the alcohol paints to add more colour and everything else around the wound. So I'm using 2 alcohol palettes today. I'm using the lighter flesh tones. This is a new alcohol palette I got. So I've just got loads of flesh tones in it, dark reds, greens and blues, which will be perfect for creating my zombie look, as I'll be able to use the veins and everything for that. And the same alcohol palette before, the Ultimate FX palette. This one I got off Amazon. I'm not sure where I got this one from, as I got it as part of my kit for college this year, but if I can find it I'll leave a link below. So yes, next is the alcohol paints, my favourite part. So first of all I am going to go in with a red tone here, and I have some IPA in a little dropper here already that I have it I find it best to use a dropper when you're using IPA for this, because you can add small amounts and keep dropping in little drops when and as you need them. So I will just add a couple of drops in there and pick some up on a ripped up makeup sponge to help create the texture for the splotting. This is to make the skin area that the bite is round look irritated and like a fresh bite. So I will just rip up a sponge like that and just dip it into the red. And I like to tap it on my skin elsewhere beforehand just to make sure that it's not a harsh red, and just tap it around the skin like that, just to add an irritated skin colour. This will help add the realistic effect. So now that the red and agitated areas are added on, I'm just going to quickly powder the skin, as this will help set the grease paints for the alcohol paints that I will add on earlier. So I'm just using a big fluffy brush and I'm just going to tap that all over my skin. Sorry for having to keep stopping. As I said, extreme movement does lift up the wax, which is what's happening here. But just powder it roughly like that. and gently brush away the excess, and then you can carry on with the alcohol paints. I might just add a bit more red into the paint as I might just add a bit more red around the wound, as I want it to be a bit more splotchy than it is currently. You can make the redness go out as far as you want for as how agitated or large your wound is, but there we are, got the agitatedness there. And now I'm going to move on to the Ultimate palette, and I'm going to use a mixture of browns, blacks and reds to shade in the centre of the wound, to add more depth to it there as well. So I've just got the brush and I'm just going to be dotting little bits of brown in between the teeth grooves, just to add that extra depth and shading to the wound. If some of the wax won't sit down again, that's fine. You can just colour underneath and make it look like a tear in the wound. And just add some black as well to add that extra shading in. And you can, if you want, drag the black down into the centre of the wound, creating like teeth indents that go a little bit longer. Once you've done that, it should be quite dark and shaded, and you can move on to doing the veins. I've touched on this before as well in my other video. So you just get a small, very thin brush and just use blues and reds, just to, very watered down blues and reds, just to create a light wash of a vein. You can do them coming out from anywhere you want, just use a very light hand. You can lift the brush up to skip certain areas. That will give a realistic look. Just use a very light hand and make it branch off of each other as well. You can have a look at the veins on your wrists as well to help create a more realistic look. But yeah, depending on your wound, you might want to think about the coloration. See if it's an old wound that's slowly getting infected, you may want to think of using greens or browns and maybe possibly blues for bruising. If it's a fresh wound, you may want to think of more reds, pinks and more So because my wound is quite a fresh wound, I'm not going to put an overzealous amount of blood on there, because I don't want mine to be too bloody, because I sometimes find that if you add too much blood it covers up the actual look of the makeup. So I'm going to put some fresh scratch blood on. It is quite sticky stuff, but it's really good, and I will use my trusty metal spatula again just to apply that. And I will place that again into where the bite marks are and drag around just to create the best looking bloody wound I can. But once I've applied all the fresh scratch blood, I'm just going to get a stipple sponge while it's still wet and stipple some of the blood around the skin area, just to add that extra effect of scabby blood, just like that, and then we are done. I hope you enjoyed this video today, and I hope you found it helpful. I think the next video I need to do is a gelatin one, and then I'll do a final look of a full zombie, just so you can get your full effect of what a zombie makeup, how the bite should look in a full look. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.